here with Geekum Team 6 with Hydro Knocker Plumbing. We are a preventative plumbing venture and we focus on hydrojetting, chain knockers, and commercial grade camera inspections to prevent and protect homeowners as well as businesses from costly plumbing failures. The presentation that we're going to get into is going to summarize our full feasibility study, and it's going to explain why our business model is going to be viable. And we're going to be targeting the San Antonio market specifically with the eventual goal of cascading this out and expanding outward. Let's get into it. So again, in this presentation, I'm going to walk everyone through the opportunity we've identified, the equipment and the technology we're going to use, the specific problems we're going to solve, the target market itself, as well as what makes us unique compared to other just handyman companies or other equipment companies that are going to be specializing within the plumbing industry. We've been very specific on who we're going to target with this, so I love to get into the nitty-gritty. As well as our customer insights. We've surveyed a lot. We've gotten feedback, not just from close friends and family, but we've also cascaded the survey outward as well. We're also going to get into our startup costs, financial projections, because we all know without doing our fiscal due diligence, we can't just go out shooting guns a-blazing. Our operational needs, we've also conducted a SWOT analysis, as well as any risks that we've already thought about ahead of time. But yeah, so let's get into the next steps. So this opportunity comes from the fact that most plumbing failures happen without warning. If anyone's ever had a plumbing failure or, let's say low pressure, a lot of the surveys that we had already told us that they can cost upwards of thousands of dollars to fix. By offering any sort of early detection / preventative cleaning or preventative measures, that's where we come in Hydro Knocker. We're going to be able to reduce those repair costs significantly in order to give customers a peace of mind. And our spinoff would be Plum Smart LLC, where we can use our proven experience in order to utilize our existing resources and then also add industry credibility to enter the market a lot more quickly. But the parent company, again, would be established with that spinoff. Yeah, so here we're looking at the equipment itself. So our service is going to be built on the proven commercial technology. This isn't something that we tried to redesign the wheel. We're going to utilize proven technology. So camera inspections, that's going to allow us to diagnose issues and be accurate before we have to take action. And the chain knocker itself, as you see on the right-hand side of the screen, is going to be able to remove scale and roots, as well as build up with inside pipes. The hydrojetter on the left side is going to utilize high pressure water to clear out loosened debris. And then together, if we combine both of those solutions, we're going to be able to solve pretty much any problem that comes at us early and then avoid any emergency failures down the road. A lot of other companies will typically have one or the other at their disposal. And so that's going to be something that's specific to us, our differentiator, as well as our knowledge of when we're going to deploy the left or the right solution to our target customers. So our homeowners and businesses, whenever they face an unexpected blockage or a sewage backup or mold, let's say water damage, all of those things can happen to any sort of person, and anyone can be at risk, especially within San Antonio where the water is very hard. There's a lot of sediment, debris, things of that nature, especially for those maybe like on the southwest side of San Antonio, where you are a conglomerate throughout a Lackland Air Force Base, for example. All of those things propose definite health risk, which we want to be able to get ahead of and not be reactive. So, and a lot of the times, if you think about it, they appear without warning. So most traditional plumbing services respond only to after the reactive, like I said, after something breaks. Hydro Knocker, we're going to be able to solve this by offering inspections first and then preventative maintenance that avoids the stress and then the expensive situations after. And we're going to be able to target that through things like AI, through things like smart outreach, through things like word of mouth, through the marketing, and then the credibility of the parent company. And we're confident in doing all of those things. The primary market that we're going to go after is going to be single family homeowners, landlords, property managers, restaurants, as well as commercial facilities throughout San Antonio, like we spoke about before. The area that we're speaking on is going to be over 550,000 households, along with consistent commercial demand. San Antonio is a growing city. There's a lot of people moving from New York, California. It is a really big hotspot, not just for military personnel, like we spoke about before. There's always constantly people moving in and out of households, but it's a consistently booming market for real estate, which is also going to help us for our organic growth. Along with that, consistent residential demand is going to be the commercial demand, like we spoke of, and our ideal customer is going to be someone who values long-term savings, preventative care, and then eco-friendly solutions. Because again, we're utilizing water, we're not using harsh chemicals. When we blast the pressure at a high PSI rating, there's not going to be anything that's going to backfire on the environment, which is great. Hydro Knocker, we're going to be different because we prioritize, again, early detection and education. Whenever we have these preventative conversations, we are going to be there to educate the client, again, on which solution is going to be best, the technologies that set us apart, and how we're going to be able to do that is we're going to be front face in front of the customer. We're going to have the great marketing as well from a digital distribution standpoint. And when we show customers exactly what's happening inside their pipes through the camera inspections, we're going to be able to document that digitally and then also utilize that for marketing purposes. That's how we're also going to remain unique. And then our methods also will be able to reduce cleaning costs as much as 70% compared to traditional reactive approaches, because we're not going to be paying the astronomical prices to fix something once it's a lost cause. We're going to be able to fix it before it becomes a lost cause. And again, all of these things combined are going to create trust, and they're going to position us as the long-term maintenance partner for the household community within San Antonio. And that's why we're going to be looking at our residential customer as our target customer. I'm going to hand it over to Adam here to knock out the next 4 slides.
Thank you very much, Victor. So Adam Garcia, and I'll be covering the different insights for the surveys along with the different breakdowns for the costs that are going to be associated with this venture. So regarding the customer survey insights, our survey results support strong demand. Almost 90% of participants have said that the service was of good value for money when comparing a proposed $225 inspection to potential repairs that could reach up to $40,000. The average repair costs in their past experiences of the participants have said that was more than $2,000 to $600, and most participants were open to an inspection first approach. So very well received whenever we reached out to participants for our survey. In regards to the startup costs, our startup cost is $160,163. This includes equipment, market licensing, insurance, and initial inventory. Because Hydro Knockers is tied to PlumSmart, the parent company, it can provide equipment access and support, which lowers the financial burden and allows for the business to launch much faster. Our monthly revenue projections is $42,216. Monthly expenses are $18,928. That leaves a monthly net profit of about $23,289. These numbers show that the business is financially strong and scalable even within the first operational cycle. And regarding the break-even point analysis, is roughly $22,000 per month based on our projections. Hydro Knockers reaches that threshold by the second month of operations, and the point that the business begins generating consistent profit. This quick path to profitability is one of the strongest indicators of feasibility that we believe.
Thanks, Adam. That recaps our financial credibility. We've done a lot of market research on that, utilized multiple reporting on top of our surveys, things of that nature. When we get to our operational and organizational feasibility, operationally, we're going to need one service vehicle, hydrojetting and chain knocking tools, inspection cameras, software like House Call Pro. And once we mesh all that together, we're going to be able to begin onboard 2 to 3 trained technicians. The partnership with PlumSmart is going to solve any startup challenges such as training or equipment access, and then licensing support, as well as anything that makes this operation realistic to execute. So they're already going to have that existing credibility and the foundation for us to be able to not have to start from scratch, if you will. For our SWOT analysis, our strengths are going to include our skilled technicians. We already have that down pat, fast service response, innovation technology, and then the backing of Plum Smart, the parent company. Our weaknesses would be our high operating costs. These are not, cheap equipment that we're going to have to buy. They're substantial investment. Seasonal swings. People during the holidays obviously don't want people entering their homes whenever they're hosting the time we're in, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, what have you, and a new brand presence of having to establish ourselves. We will have a little bit of help on that, but we're not completely brand new, but we're still going to have to establish ourselves. Opportunities are going to include rising eco-friendly demand and a strong market expansion potential. Within San Antonio, people do care about the environment. They don't want to harm it. They want to help it. And things, if we're utilizing just water, as we mentioned before, that's going to be able to help us and be on our side. Our threats would be heavy local competition, economic pressures, and then supply chain cost increases, things that out of our nature, such as tariffs, that could affect our equipment purchasing costs as they rise. Key risk and mitigation strategies to reduce risk. We are going to use the cost sharing model with Plum Smart, which is going to lower our equipment costs as well as labor strain. We're going to focus on preventative education, like we spoke about before, premium service. We're going to be friendly, happy with our clients. That's really what's going to try and differentiate ourselves. One thing I can maybe compare us with is if you compare a typical auto shop to a Christian Brothers auto service. A lot of people have told stories, whether it's on Facebook, Yelp, or just Google reviews. If you have just a tire malfunction, for example, and you take it to a Christian Brothers auto service, they're like, hey, you might be better served if we just take you to Discount Tire. Those are the sort of things that we're going to implement and really try and work through in order to differentiate ourselves from a crowded market. When we diversify into commercial contracts, we're going to protect against economic cycles, as well as form those relationships into multiple suppliers in order to keep our pricing stable. Next steps, if we proceed, the first month is going to include financing, registration, licensing, equipment procurement. Weeks 2 through 6 focus on technician hiring, training, and market development. As far as outreach goes, we just spoke about cold calling, cold emailing, dropping off flyers within residential neighborhoods. Months 2 are we're going to start launching our soft operations with our early customers, and then months 3 we're going to begin full scale marketing. 4 through 6, again, we would represent scaling through full capacity. That's where we should already hit the ground running. And if any demand is not had at that point, then we will have to react accordingly and rectify it in order to hit the ground running.